Will come to order. Senators will be in their seats. The clerk will call the roll.
Alley, Baumgartner, Billinger, Bowers, Clays, Orson, Dietrich, Dahl, Erickson, Fag, Faust-Cadeau, Francisco, Gossage, Haley, Hawk, Hildebrand, Holland, Holscher, Kirshen, Cluse, Longbein, Masterson, McGinn, Olson, O'Shea, Peck, Peterson, Petty, Pittman, Pyle, Reichman, Steffen, Straub, Solentrop, Sykes, Thompson, Tyson, Ware, Warren, Wilborn.
Senators and their guests, please rise and give prayerful attention to the chaplain.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, there are issues where we have divided opinions, yet we appreciate that that's not bad. Then there are issues over which we become divided, and that's not good. Lord, in chapter 12, verses 35 through 40, Matthew records that an attorney wanted to know that of all the laws, what's most important? The answer Jesus gave was one that strives to prevail over all disputes and conflicts. It's the universal remedy of love. Love for you, God, and love for others that resembles the love for self. Matthew chapter 12, verse 25 reveals that when people are divided, when they're supposed to be together, they're in fail mode. So Lord, help us in our diversity to rise above adversity. We don't want to be divided against ourselves, but united to benefit ourselves and those we serve. Bind us together, Lord, and let this house reflect the presence of your divine guidance. I'm thanking you in the name of Jesus. Amen. Amen.
Please continue standing for the national anthem sung by Haley Bagwell of Coffeyville, guest of Senator Peck.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does
Thank you, Haley. That was beautiful. Thank you, Chaplain, for the message. Point of personal privilege, the chair recognizes the senator from Butler, Senator Fagg.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. Let's play ball. Good afternoon, fellow senators. Today, it is my distinct pleasure to welcome to the Kansas Senate the 2022 class of Bank Leaders of Kansas. Every year, the Kansas Bankers Association selects approximately 20 Kansas bank leaders from across our state and provides training to prepare them to take an active, positive role in molding the future of our Kansas communities and the banking industry. Since the program's inception, approximately 200 Kansas bankers have completed the Bank Leaders of Kansas training experience and have occupied essential leadership roles within the KBA and our Kansas communities. The sessions for this year's group have focused on the importance of being engaged in the state legislative and regulatory process. From here, they will move to their final sessions where they will receive high-level leadership and communication training. The program will conclude with a visit to our nation's capital to meet with our state delegation and to receive briefings from the top regulators. We are honored to have their presence today. So fellow senators, up over my right shoulder in the balcony is the group. And please join me in a great Senate floor welcome to the 2022 Kansas Leaders of Kansas.
Congratulations. The chair recognizes the senator from Sedgwick, Senator Faustico.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President, and I'm rising today, and it's my honor to wish you happy birthday, Mr. Vice President.
Thank you. Thank you. Please note reference to bills on page 1 and appointments on pages 1 through 5 of the calendar.
Senate Resolution number
Introduction of original motions and Senate resolutions, the clerk will read.
Senate Resolution number 1728 by Senator Billinger and others. A resolution designating February 10th, 2022 as JAG-K Day at Capitol.
The chair recognizes the senator from Sherman, Senator Billinger.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. I'm pleased to sponsor this resolution recognizing today, February 10th, 2022, as JAG-K Day at the Capitol. Most of the members of this body are familiar with JAG-K and their remarkable outcomes. JAG-K focuses on student success. Following graduation, 89% of the JAG-K students are in post-secondary education, military service, or in the workforce full-time. KJAG teaches student skills they need to be successful regardless of their chosen career path. They gain confidence by learning leadership and career development skills through their required JAG competencies. JAG-K provides accountability. They report their performance measures quarterly and their expenses monthly. JAG-K is a great example of an evidence-based program that works. And it is an honor to recognize numerous JAG-K students from across the state. They are in the gallery on both sides. And if you'd like to, let's give them a hand of applause. Also, we have joining us on the floor this afternoon are members of the JAG-K Student Career Association. They're in the VIP section. We have students Devin Russell from Unger. Please stand if you would, Devin. We have Carlin Morehouse from Hiawatha. Please stand, Karen. We have Dakota Allmiller from Great Bend. And Jesse Bartlett from Stafford. Adults, we have Christy Prey, the Career Specialist of the Year. We have Bev Mortimer, a Vice President of Programming. And we have Chuck Knapp, the President and CEO. Thanks again for joining us today. We appreciate having you here at the Capitol, and I'd like to give them one more round of applause. Thank you. Mr. Vice President, I move an emergency be declared, the rules suspended, and Senate Resolution 1728 be adopted by voice vote.
You have heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The motion carries. Messages from the governor. The clerk will read.
House substitute for Senate Bill number 347 has been signed. Approved February 10th, 2022. Respectfully, Laura Kelly, Governor.
Before recessing, are there announcements? Seeing none, the chair recognizes the senator from Cali, Senator Alley.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. The Republicans will caucus in room 548 immediately on recess, and I yield to the good senator from Lawrence, Senator Francisco.
The chair recognizes the senator from Douglas, Senator Francisco.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. The Senate Democrats will be caucusing upon recess in our regular room 287 North. I yield back to the senator from Cali.
Senator from Cali, Senator Alley.
Thank you. I move the Senate recess to the sound of the gavel.
You have heard the motion. All in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. The motion carried. Senate is recessed. Senate will come to order. The chair recognizes the Assistant Majority Leader from Sedgwick, Senator Erickson.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. I move the Senate resolve itself into the Committee of the Whole for consideration of bills on the calendar under the heading of General Orders.
You have heard the motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. The chair appoints the senator from Cherokee, Senator Hildebrand, to preside over the committee as a whole.
The Senate having resolved itself into the Committee of the Whole, we will now consider those items listed on the calendar under the heading of General Orders. We will now turn our attention to Senate Bill for 300. The chair recognizes the senator from Johnson, Senator Warren, to explain the bill and to adopt the committee report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move we adopt the committee report.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. That motion is carried.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Substitute for Senate Bill 300 makes several small changes, but very impactful and important changes to the Kansas RICO Act. RICO stands for Racketeer, Influenced, and Corrupt Organization Act. So it's a bill aimed at organized crime, and it's a bill aimed at particularly a particular kind of organized crime that we saw kind of run rampant through Kansas in years 2020 and 21 with unemployment fraud. We had a lot of identity theft and identity fraud, and that's exactly what this bill addresses. It changes the definition in the statute of who is a covered person. That would be a covered person by the act if you engage in these types of behavior. And a covered person is someone who has engaged in or is engaging in identity theft or identity fraud. And it also amends the definition of racketeering activity. What are you doing? And again, you're engaging in identity theft or identity fraud. You have stolen the identity, and then you are engaged in fraud to use that identity for some financial or other monetary gain. So it's a bill that is brought to us by the good senator from Sedgwick, Senator Peterson, and we had testimony in support from the senator and also from the Special Deputy Sheriff for Government Affairs from the Johnson County Sheriff's Office, as well as the Kansas County and District Attorney Association, as well as the Kansas Sheriff's Association, the Kansas Association of Chiefs of Police, and Kansas Peace Officers Association. And we heard testimony that, you know, believe it or not, despite the size of our population in Kansas, Kansas ranks as one of the top 5 states who suffers from this kind of crime. And though we have 226 convictions for identity theft and identity fraud, we have 0 convictions in 2019 and 2020 for the organization that engages in this kind of crime. So it's an important bill that would help stop this kind of criminal activity. We heard that, in fact, according to the Federal Trade Commission, in 2020, Kansas ranked as the highest state in the U.S. for identity theft per capita, with 1,483 reports per 100,000 population. During that year, over 43,000 identity theft cases in Kansas was identified by the FTC. This is astounding. It's too much, and we need to enable our prosecutors to stop this kind of crime. So with that, Mr. Chair, I will stand for questions.
Are there questions for the senator from Johnson? Senator from Sedgwick, Senator Peterson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Not a question, but some comments. As I did bring this bill forward, I wanted to let the body know that I have been interested in this for a while. I was sitting in the Supreme Court room during special session with a few of the colleagues still here, and we were reading Montoy, and they were teaching us how to read Supreme Court decisions. Well, I came across a decision, State v. Martin, and in that decision, it stated that they were trying to do an aggravated sentence after they bifurcated the trial for the ringleader of an identity theft group. Well, the decision was that no, they couldn't raise the sentence for that. Well, the sentence for identity theft up to $100,000 is presumptive probation. If you exceed the $100,000, it's presumptive probation in a border box. So you'd have to have an aggravated felony to go, a person felony to go along with it to get some prison time. Well, it was very hard for people to get into the, get to the ringleaders and the leaders of these organizations. In fact, I didn't understand at the time, and I always wondered why Chief Justice McFarland, in her dissenting and concurring opinion, stated that it would be like Al Capone, not being as guilty as his drivers, and that in Kansas there would be very few of these cases ever prosecuted under this. I didn't understand why until I realized what the penalties were last year when we started hearing that identity theft in Kansas once again becoming a real target. So when they started doing this targeting, you know, if we don't go after the ringleaders, you imagine the prosecutor or the justice, the law enforcement sitting there saying, okay, you're facing presumptive probation. I want you to tell me about who you're working for and who your leader is. With that, I can give you presumptive probation and a cup of coffee. I mean, it's just absurd. I didn't want to, you know, back to the Al Capone reference, if you take out one of the drivers when he's delivering alcohol, you didn't slow down the operation. We need to target the ringleaders and the CEOs of these organizations. This will let our prosecutors have the tools that they can put these people facing 2 to 5. If they want to talk, you go plea bargain them back down to presumptive probation and work your way up the food chain till we get to the top and we can stop some of this crime. I want to thank the senator from Johnson for having the hearing and all the revisers who worked so hard. We started this process a year ago, December, and the revisers got it right, and we're bringing it forward now. Thank you.
Not seeing any further questions. Senator from Leavenworth, Senator Pittman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to commend the senator from Sedgwick, Senator Peterson, on his methodologies. We have a feedback loop from the Supreme Court that we often don't take advantage of, and I'm in admiration of the technique he just described to address a problem that our state is afflicted with. He's my colleague on the Unemployment Modernization Committee, as well as on cybersecurity type joint committee on technology. And we see this as a big issue. Identity theft coming into the state of Kansas. We need to have tools like this, and I commend the senator for bringing this forth. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Senator from Sedgwick, Senator Foscato.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If the gentlelady from McPherson would stand for a question.
She's standing.
Thank you. Thank you. Years ago when I was serving over in the House with former Representative Ed O'Malley, we introduced an identity theft bill together that passed into law. So I truly support this legislation. But for those who are listening in, if the senator from McPherson, Senator Kelly Warren, would just share for... Why didn't you correct me, Mr. Chairman? That's our wonderful vice president from McPherson. So the gentlelady from Johnson, my apologies. So back on track here again, Mr. Chairman. So if she could just, for those listening or watching in, just point out the peanut, the main piece that we're changing here to give law enforcement more tools to prosecute, to address the issues that the gentleman from Sedgwick, Senator Peterson, commented on. Thank you.
Senator from Johnson, Senator Warren.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I have not moved to the great county of McPherson, and didn't want to interrupt the gentlelady from Sedgwick County in her questioning. So thank you for the correction. And Kansas is a great place, I think, wherever you are. So thank you for the question. The specific amendments in the bill are on, again, 2 very simple ones, but very impactful. They're on page 1 of the bill. If you want line numbers, page 1, lines number 34 through 36, talking about engaged in or is engaging in any conduct prohibited by KSA 2020 SUP 216107 and amendments thereto. identity theft or identity fraud. And that changes the definition of covered person. Who is covered by the RICO Act and might be prosecuted under this RICO Act. Now we can go after those engaged in identity theft or identity fraud. And the second change then is in what is the activity you're engaged in, the definition of racketeering activity. And that means to commit, attempt to commit, to conspire to commit, or to solicit, coerce, or intimidate another person to commit identity theft or identity fraud. And that change is at page 3, lines 37 through 38. And I hope that answers the question.
Okay, Senator from Johnson, I see no further questions. You may move your amendment, or move your motion. Close.
Thank you. We hear from law enforcement that this is a problem in the state of Kansas, that we do need this tool to prosecute this bad behavior. I want to thank the senator from Sedgwick, Senator Peterson, for bringing this to committee and for the good work of the committee to pass this out. You know, the 2020 Federal Trade Commission statistics show that 4 Kansas metropolitan statistical areas, as the top 4 metropolitan statistical areas in the country for identity theft per capita in the U.S. are the following: Lawrence, Wichita, Manhattan, and right here in Topeka. So this is an issue that needs to be addressed in Kansas, and I'm glad that the bill has been brought forward, and I would appreciate the support of the body. So with that, I move that when the committee rises and report, it report substitute for Senate Bill 300 favorably for passage.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. That motion is carried. On a point of personal privilege, the chair recognizes the senator from Lyon, Senator Longbine.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Appreciate the indulgence and the interruption of general orders, but have a very special guest today. This is an old high school friend of mine that spent 35 years in business, that has recently been named the interim president of Emporia State University. And he was up today for his very first budget hearing over in the House, and he's all polished up and ready for Senator Billinger next week. And so would appreciate if my colleagues would welcome him to the Kansas Senate.
Congratulations on your appointment and welcome to the Senate. We will now turn our attention to Senate Bill 346. The chair recognizes the senator from Sedgwick, Senator Kirshen, to explain the bill and to adopt the committee report.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I move we adopt the committee report.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. That motion is carried. You may explain your bill.
Thank you. Senate Bill 346 in Section C would update the definitions in the dairy law. No definitions would be added, and the most of the stricken language would be addressed in other sections of the bill, including standards for milk, goat milk, milk products, and grade A pasteurized milk. The next section deals with with the production for those a sunset date on various milk persons that have a license. That is due to sunset on 2023. This bill changes that to 2028. License fees for any person who engages in business or any of the following, whether you're a dairy manufacturing plant, milk distributor, a milk hauler, or an operator of a milk cream transfer station, and a manufacturer of single-service dairy customers, and certain milk inspections and regulatory services. All of these would require a permit, and the fees for those permits are already set, and the department informed us that in the event that more dairies move to western Kansas than we have already now out there and have a processing plant, that will actually lower the fees that are charged to those producers and those haulers. Bill 346 would amend the laws regulating milk, cream, and dairy products so that the retail sale of raw milk and milk products on the farm may be done if the product contains the prescribed warning label stating, this product contains raw milk that is not pasteurized and could contain bacteria that may cause foodborne illness. and at the conclusion of that statement, the last 9 words were deleted as an amendment and taken from the context of the bill. And the reason was some of the opponents said they didn't want a wordy acknowledgement of what the bill was about, and keep it simple and straightforward and simple. And that's what we ended up doing. So we removed that language, and that's gone out of the bill. With that, I'll stand for questions.
Are there questions for the senator from Sedgwick? Senator from Barton, Senator Straub.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And sorry to bring this up about now, but I do have the reviser working on an amendment on page 10 of the bill under section 6. If we could hold a little bit, I'm not sure how long that's going to be.
Senator, we will hold and move on to the next bill and then come back to Senate Bill 346. It will retain its position. So we will now turn our attention to House Bill 2109. The chair recognizes the senator from Johnson, Senator Warren, to explain the bill and to adopt the committee report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move we adopt the committee report.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The motion's carried. Senator, you may explain your bill and stand for questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We just heard a bill talking about prosecuting bad actors, and we also have to look at the other side, the defendant side, and we have a constitutional right that when you are charged or accused with a state felony, you have the constitutional right to have the appointment of counsel to represent you if you cannot otherwise afford one yourself. So therefore, it's in statute that we have the Board of Indigence Defense Services that oversees all the public defenders' offices across the state of Kansas. House Bill 2109 is brought to us by the board, and it is a request to update the statute, if you will, that has not been amended since 1995. The board is made up of 9 members, and the bill would amend the composition of those 9 members. It does not grow the number of members of the board, and it does not shrink the number of the members of the board. So of those 9, it is statutorily required that they be divided per the 4 congressional districts. 2 are required to be from the 1st district, 1 must be an attorney, and then at least 1 other member from the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th district. And what the bill does, 2 very simple changes. If you'll look at the bill on, it changes the makeup of the 9 members. Right now, it is required that there are 5 attorney members of the board and 4 non-attorney members of the board. With the population growth across the state of Kansas, we have seen an increase in, quite frankly, the growth in one of the counties that's in excess of 100,000 residents. And the statute requires that any county in one of the, that there at least 1 member of the board has to be from each county who has a population of more than 100,000. And that has been 4 counties until recently. The 4 counties were Johnson, Sedgwick, Shawnee, and Wyandotte, and recently now Douglas County. So the bill amends the $100,000, the 100,000 resident requirement, pushes it up to 115,000, so that the board said that allows us to kind of keep the status quo. It would allow Douglas County to have an appointed lawyer member, which there is not one right now on the board. There are 8 appointed members on the board, and we need another one. So the board has brought this change to us, so the board can appoint a Douglas County member and not violate the statute that there can only be one from, that there has to be one from each county with more than 100,000. So that would qualify, and that would take care of kind of the population that we see now in Douglas County. So it's not a growth in government because it does not expand the number of members of the board. That remains at 9. So the members of the board are appointed by the governor, and they are confirmed by the Senate. We heard from the executive director of the board that the criminal public defender's offices across the state of Kansas handle 85% of criminal cases, and they have 245 state employees. That also includes, though, paralegals, investigators, and attorneys. So you can imagine it's quite a caseload. I said, well, how many cases is that per year? And they said 25 to 30,000 cases per year. And when those state employees aren't able to get to the cases, there is a private list of attorneys who can handle the cases, but they're would be helping defend those cases. So with that, Mr. Chair, I will stand for questions.
Are there questions for the senator from Johnson? Senator from Johnson, Senator Gossage.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I served on this board, the Kansas Board of Indigent Defense Services, as a non-attorney from Johnson County. And the board meets about 3 times or 4 times a year, about every 3 months. We discuss the budget, we discuss the number of attorneys, how many more attorneys might be needed to defend folks. Again, it's been in statute for many, many years, I think since it was first developed. I have 5 attorneys and 4 non-attorneys. Having served on that board, I was in favor of this bill in judiciary, 6 attorneys, 3 non-attorneys. I still think that's a good mix, so I will be standing in favor of this bill. Thank you.
Senator from Johnson, Senator Warren.
Mr. Chair, I thank you. I neglected to explain that the change that the bill also does is it changes the number of allowed and allotted attorney members of the 9 from 5 to 6, and the non-attorney members from 4 to 3, because we do need another attorney member appointed from Douglas County. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Chair recognizes the senator from Finney County, Senator Dahl.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a question for the carrier of the bill, if she'll answer it.
She will.
So if I understand this correctly, because of the recent map that was passed and overridden, the veto, you're telling me that because Douglas County has over 100,000, they're going to be guaranteed one. So literally, we could have, for the big first, both our representatives from Douglas County. Is that correct?
Senator from Johnson, Senator Warren.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The first district has always and is already guaranteed 1 attorney member, regardless of whether there's any county in the first district with a population of 100,000 or more. So the first district, again, has always been guaranteed 1 attorney member. And I asked the executive director, would any change in the congressional map change any of what's in statute regarding this board? And the answer was no. First of all, the appointment wouldn't come until after that congressional map was set, and it's a confirmation process, and things would need to be put into place. And again, it is an appointment by the governor, subject to Senate confirmation. So there is oversight, and it would be determined whether it would be appropriate where the members would be. If the process shows that the members should both be from one area and it gets through the process, then so be it. If not, then it would be a different configuration.
Senator from Finney, Senator Dahl.
So if I'm reading this right, that was an attorney answer. I'd like this. So yes, is the answer that 2 could come from Douglas County for the congressional first district? Yes or no, please.
Senator from Johnson, Senator Warren.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. That was an accurate answer, and the answer is still yes, 2 could come from Douglas County. What we were hearing from the board, quite frankly, is they're not finding qualified folks. So if the people are in Douglas County, then that's where they live. So it could be that they're from Douglas County, it could be they're both from some other county, and with this, it's always been the law that if you have 100,000 or more, you have to have one of the attorney members be from that county.
Seeing no further questions, you may close.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think we know that we have an obligation as a state to ensure that we protect the constitutional rights of Kansans, and this bill would help do that by ensuring that the Board of Indigence Defense Services is filled at 9 members as required by statutes, and it's appropriately filled so that our areas of the state are properly represented on the board. And with that, Mr. Chair, I move that when the committee rises and report House Bill 2109 favorably for passage.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. That motion is carried. We will now turn our attention back to Senate Bill 346. Senator from Barton, Senator Straub, do you have an ETA on the amendment?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do not yet. It really is just striking some language and changing just a couple words.
Okay. We will stand at ease. The Senate will come to order. We are now back on Senate Bill 346. The chair recognizes the senator from Barton, Senator Straub.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I appreciate you holding while I got this amendment from the revisor's office. I would move to amend Senate Bill 346. The number is 3170. Just turn that in.
Give us a minute to distribute the amendment. Senator, would you like to explain your amendment or have it read?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. The language on page 10 of the bill under section 6, so lines 14, this would strike on page 10 in line 14, striking everything after secretary and striking all of the lines 15 through 19 and in line 20. And by striking all of before the period and inserting secretary shall refer the matter to the appropriate county health board, and such board shall make a final determination. And then striking all in lines 42 and 43 on page 10, and on page 11, striking all the lines in 1 through 6. Basically, I think that we can make this a little bit more simple of a matter by not giving the Secretary of Agriculture such control of what is really a public health issue. I would prefer that those things be handled by a county board of health that's more closely connected to the communities that they serve, and then this way we don't have a non-elected official making health decisions, someone who most likely would not have a background in health or health care, and also protect the public by referring those matters to the appropriate Board of Health.
The chair recognizes the senator from Sedgwick, Senator Kirshen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was looking at the material here, and I wanted to remind the body that this is not a new definition here. This has been around for 10 years already, the previous what we're trying to eliminate. So it stood the test of time, and I believe it's just a matter of preference, and have more people considered when making the decision with the secretary and the animal health professional who's in charge of that animal health diseases is in on that too. So it's not really unfriendly manner, but it's unnecessary. So I'll leave it to the will of the body.
Senator from Barton, Senator Straub.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I really don't think this is that controversial. I think that just by referring the matter to the appropriate Board of Health and not Secretary of Agriculture, in this bill, Secretary is referring to the Secretary of Agriculture, not the Secretary of Health. So I think it just cleans up the language a little bit and takes out some unnecessary additional language in lines 42 and 43 on page 10, and then the remainder of that section on page 11 by striking lines 1 through 6.
The chair recognizes the senator from Douglas, Senator Francisco.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We did have an opportunity to discuss this in committee, and it was made clear that this was language that was already in our bill. I think it's important to note that this is talking about an imminent health hazard, and we are talking about milk processing facilities or cheese processing. The Secretary assured us that this would not be used against the unpasteurized milk that was for sale unless there was a specific health hazard, but those are not the places that are inspected. We do have a public that relies on milk inspection. That is not something that's done by our county public health boards. That is something that is done by our Department of Agriculture. I stand strongly against this amendment.
Senator from Barton, Senator Straub.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll just read lines 42 and 43 I'll just read this section 6, part C. When necessary to protect the public health, an imminent health hazard may be declared by the Secretary, referring to the Secretary of Agriculture, at any point in a chain of events that ultimately may result in harm or danger to public health. The occurrence of the final anticipated injury or other disease-related condition shall not be a prerequisite for the establishment of the existence of an imminent health hazard, and the use of any authority granted pursuant to this act, including any action taken pursuant to subsection A or B, or KSA 65-780A or 65-785, and amendments thereto. I think all of us are very familiar with Chapter 65, and those are health issues. I just find it somewhat confusing to both the public and the legislature that we would give the Secretary of Agriculture such control over public health when that's clearly not their designated role in our government. So I think this just cleans up the language a little bit, and it removes that additional language that is added in line 42 and 43 on page 10, and it removes lines 1 through 6 on page 11 is all.
Chair recognizes the senator from Reno, Senator Stephan.
Thank you. Yeah, I think one of the really fine things about the opportunity to hear a bill on the floor is to have the opportunity to assist the committee and maybe helping clean up a couple issues that maybe didn't come across or get taken care of in committee. It's not an indictment against their work in any way, shape, or form. We are coming out of a situation where giving, mandating, and rights to an unelected official has become fairly unpalatable. And we're starting to see that in a lot of situations that's fairly inappropriate. I do think just taking a little bit of time to clean that up and move this in front of the county health board is very worthwhile. And again, it is a very, very important point that we do have a Secretary of Agriculture deeply embedded in public health decisions in that section C. So, you know, I think the underlying bill is a fine bill. I'm glad it's being dealt with. It's very, very pertinent in my Reno County, large population of Amish and Mennonite who do sell whole milk. And so, you know, I support the underlying bill completely. And I really would encourage folks just to take a step back, take a deep breath. Let's clean this up a teeny bit and move forward. Thank you.
Senator from Barton, Senator Straub.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would wholeheartedly agree that this is in no way to discredit the importance of this bill or the other items in this bill. And it covers a number of different issues as far as inspection fees and labeling. So I think by removing this new language that's being, that they're amending, that the bill originally requests to amend, I think by striking that language and referring those things, the appropriate public health issues, back to the Board of Health, it really just cleans up the language in the bill. But yeah, it is in no way meant to discredit the work. In fact, I had actually questioned this during committee, and that my question was answered, but I would say that I was still not comfortable with the language the way it was in the bill.
Chair recognizes the senator from Sedgwick, Senator Ware.
Thank you. It isn't actually new language. On page 3 of the bill, it says, the Secretary may authorize the use of a grade A designation for a temporary time period or grade A raw milk for pasteurization within the statewide system of milk inspection, and regulatory services, although such milk does not have to have at least 90% rating. Imminent health board means any condition, at any rate, it goes on to say, this is not new. This was in the other bill, the original bill, the current law. It is, the Ag Department has the inspectors. It would not certainly be one person's decision. It would be that certainly the secretary would sign off on it, but he has a whole division of Kansas Department of Health and Environment working with him. So I think it's unnecessary. Thanks.
Senator from Barton, Senator Straub.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do believe there is new language on lines 42, 43 on page 10 and lines 1 through 6 on page 11.
The chair recognizes the senator from Douglas, Senator Francisco.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It is true that language has been added, but it's repetition of language. In fact, the same authority had been given through a definition, and it's much more appropriate to have it standing on its own. So I do have a question for the Senator of Barton, if she would stand for it.
She's standing.
So my question is, can a county public health board issue stop sale or stop use orders for milk?
Senator from Barton, Senator Straub.
I do believe that power lies with KDHE, and in the Ag Committee, we listen to those budgets, and I believe those inspectors are provided for under the Department of Agriculture, but they also do work with the Department of Health and Environment. So I just think that the language in this bill gives unnecessary authority to the Secretary of Agriculture about a public health issue. We've heard all these complaints about people using horse medication. Well, do you want the Secretary of Agriculture making your public health decisions, or do you want your Secretary of Health making public health decisions?
Senator from Douglas, Senator Francisco.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. If that was a question for me, I would like the Secretary of Agriculture making the stop sale or stop use order for milk. It's described in 65-785, and this amendment would strike that ability to have an effect to address an imminent health hazard. So if our public county health boards cannot issue a stop sale order, and if we find out, I mean, this has to be done quickly. This is milk. This is a product that's going to be sold, put on the shelves and sold quickly. The final ability to address this is pursuant to KSA 65-780-A or 65-785, and we have eliminated that in striking those lines.
Senator from Barton, Senator Straub.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Actually, I have a correction to that, those comments. The raw milk and unpasteurized milk products are not allowed to be sold on a store shelf. So no, they're not distributed through our grocery stores. They are only allowed to be sold directly from the farm to the consumer. So I don't find it necessary to put our Secretary of Ag in front of public health issues. You could relate this to a zoonotic bacteria or virus that could be easily passed back and forth between humans and animals. And I think that just we get into a really gray area of who should be making those decisions for us. And in this sense, I don't think it should be the Secretary of Agriculture, but a public board of health. That way the people have a direct
redress of their grievances with government.
Senator from Douglas, Senator Francisco.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This bill addresses more than raw or unpasteurized milk. It does add a label for that, but it also, if you look in the definitions, addresses grade A pasteurized milk, grade A pasteurized milk products. And so this ability to stop an imminent health hazard has to do with the milk that is on the shelves in grocery stores in the state of Kansas.
Chair recognizes the senator from Reno, Senator Steffen.
Thanks, sir. As I continue to look at this, we were referred to page 3 earlier, and I heard readings in regards to imminent health hazard. At the bottom of page 3, starting at line 34, imminent health hazard was defined, but then it was struck out. And again, I'm happy as I could be with the underlying bill, but I want the bill to be as strong as it can be. So we go to bottom of page 10 and 11, and imminent health hazard is not defined, and it's not clear within those sentences. The lack of definition of imminent health hazard is very, very problematic to the intent of this bill, and opens the door for tomfoolery, so to speak. And I really want this bill to be as strong as it possibly can be. So again, I support the amendment to make the bill cleaner, better, stronger, more applicable to the situations that will arise within it. Thank you.
Seeing no further questions, Senator, you may move your amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would move to amend Senate Bill 346 as presented.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. The noes have it. That motion fails. We are now back on the bill. Chair recognizes the senator from Sedgwick County, Senator Kirshen. Do you have anything to add?
Thank you, Mr. That's the deal with not just saying anything. No, I just appreciate the debate, but like he said, the advisor said, none of these are new. They've been moved around and shuffled around to make this bill. From where they were, that's what's part of the confusion is. And the other part of that, where the amendment was, that was only concerning milk and dairy products, not all the other stuff that's in food items and the animals and that. And besides that, we have an animal health commissioner who's in charge of it, to making sure those things are all done before it gets to the secretary. Thank you.
The chair recognizes the senator from Douglas, Senator Francisco.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I do have a comment. We had a great discussion in committee about the labels regarding raw milk. I absolutely agree that they should be short, but I do not agree that they should exclude the word unpasteurized just by letting you use an or instead of an and. I much preferred the raw and unpasteurized.
Senator, seeing no further questions, you may close.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move that when the committee rises and reports, it reports Senate Bill 346 favorable for passage.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The chair recognizes the majority leader from Cali, Senator Alley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move the committee rise and report.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. That motion is carried.
Clerk will read the committee report.
On motion of Senator Alley, the Senate resolved itself into the Committee of the Whole for consideration on bills on the calendar under the heading of General Orders with Senator Hildebrand in the chair. Recommended, Senate Bill 300 be amended by the adoption of the committee report recommending a substitute bill and the substitute bill be passed. Senate Bill 346, House Bill 2109 be amended by the adoption of the committee reports and the bills be passed as amended. Senate Bill 282 be passed over and retain a place on the calendar.
The chair recognizes the senator from Cherokee, Senator Hildebrand, to adopt the committee report.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. I move that we adopt the committee report.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. Motion carries. The chair recognizes the majority leader from Cali County, recognizes the majority leader from Cali, Senator Alley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move an emergency be declared, the rules suspended, and the following bills be advanced to final action and roll call. Senate substitute for Senate Bill 300, Senate Bill 346, House Bill 2109.
You have heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion carried. We are now ready for final action. On this roll call, we will take the following. Consent calendar bill on page 6, Senate Bill 327, and the bills on pages 6 and 7, Senate Bill 300, Senate Bill 346, House Bill 2109. The clerk will read the titles.
Senate Bill 327, an act concerning sales taxation. Senate Bill 300, an act concerning crimes, punishment, and criminal procedure. Senate Bill 346, an act concerning agriculture. House Bill 2109, an act concerning the Board of Indigence Defense Services.
The clerk will call the roll.
Alley, Baumgartner, Billinger, Bowers, Clays, Corson, Dietrich, Dahl, Erickson, Fag,
Aye.
Faust Godot, Francisco, Gossage, Haley, Hawk, Hildebrand, Holland, Holscher, Kirshen, Cluse, Longbine, Masterson, McGinn, Olson, O'Shea, Peck, Peterson, Petty, Pittman, Pyle, Reichman, Steffen, Straub, Solentrop, Sykes, Thompson, Tyson, Ware, Warren, Wilborn.
Aye. Has every senator had the opportunity to vote? The chair recognizes the senator from Finney, Senator Dahl.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I voted no on House Bill 2109. I'd like to explain my vote.
You may.
In 2018 and 2019, I don't know if there was anyone in this chamber that gave the executive branch more criticism for not choosing anyone west of Wichita for appointments. So here it is now, we have the legislative branch, the possibility just passed legislation because of the map that we just 2 days ago passed. Western Kansas could get stuck again, so I vote no on 2109.
Do you wish your words spread across the journal? It's easier that way. Is there anyone else wish to explain their vote? Senator from Brown, would you like to cast your vote? Thank you. Yes, Senator Farino, Senator Stephan.
Thank you. Can I change my vote still?
Oh, yes,
I'd like to change my aye to a no on HB 2109.
Duly noted.
And I'd like to comment on SB 346, please.
Please proceed.
Thank you. SB 346 is a bill that I fully support. Unfortunately, is a poorly written bill through Section 6, where it allows an unelected official to have the sole ability to police situations that they are unqualified to intervene upon. Additionally, the bill fails to define an imminent health risk, which is a fatal flaw to the integrity of the bill. Thank you.
Would you like your words spread on the journal? Yes. Senator from Barton, Senator Straub.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President, and thank you to the good senator from Finney for bringing that to our attention. I wish that had been done in caucus. I also would prefer to change my vote to a no vote on House Bill 2109. Thank you.
Duly noted. Are there any changes of vote? Senator from Douglas, Senator Francisco.
I had an explanation of vote.
You have an explanation of vote.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. I vote pass on Senate Bill 346. I support much in the bill, but object to the change from and to or in the labeling of raw unpasteurized milk. I believe both the labeling and advertisements, the word unpasteurized is important to send the appropriate message. And I do agree it makes sense to define imminent health hazard.
You wish to have your words spread on the journal?
I do.
Duly noted.
I have a second explanation.
Yes.
Just to say, I vote aye on House Bill 2109. This bill provides that Douglas County will have at least one member on the State Board of Indigence Defense Services. I note that that member could likely be the lawyer registered with the Kansas Supreme Court that is one of the 2 members of the 1st Congressional District.
Would you like those words spread across the term?
No, thank you.
Are there any other explanations of vote? Any more changes of vote? The clerk will close the roll and tally the vote. $40 in favor and no 0 against. Senate Bill 327 and Senate Bill 300. 38 in favor and 0 against. Senate Bill 346 and 35 in favor and 5 against. House Bill 2109. These measures, having received the required constitutional majority, are hereby declared passed. Introduction of bills and concurrent resolution. The clerk will read.
Senate Bill number 488 by Committee on Ways and Means, an act concerning division of vehicles. Senate Bill number 489 by Committee on Public Health and Welfare, an act concerning infectious or contagious diseases. Senate Bill 490 by Committee on Judiciary, an act concerning children and minors. Senate Bill 491 by Committee on Judiciary, an act concerning workers' compensation. Senate Bill 492 by Committee on Federal and State Affairs, an act concerning grand juries. Senate Bill 493 by Committee on Federal and State Affairs, an act concerning cities and counties. Senate Bill 494 by Committee on Federal and State Affairs, an act concerning motor carriers. Senate Bill 495 by Committee on Assessment and Taxation, an act concerning income taxation. Senate Bill 496 by Committee on Education, an act concerning education.
This constitutes the introduction of Senate Bill 488 through Senate Bill 496. Reports of standing committees, the clerk will read.
Mr. President, the Committee on Judiciary recommends House Bill 2231 be amended and the bill be passed as amended. Senator Warren, chairperson. Mr. President, the Committee on Commerce recommends Senate Bill 378 be passed. Senator Erickson, chairperson. Mr. President, the Committee on Judiciary recommends Senate Bill 408 be passed. Senator Warren, chairperson. Mr. President, the Committee on Judiciary recommends Senate Bill 367 be passed. Senator Warren, chairperson. Mr. President, the Committee on Judiciary recommends Senate Bill 366 be passed. Senator Warren, chairperson. Mr. President, the Committee on Judiciary recommends Senate Bill 368 be passed. Senator Warren, chairperson. Mr. President, the Committee on Federal and State Affairs recommends Senate Bill 408 be passed. Senator Olson, chairperson.
At this time, I'm withdrawing Senate Substitute House Bill 2280 from the calendar and referring to the Committee on Public Health and Welfare. Are there announcements? Yes, the Senator from Lynn, Senator Tyson.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. I would remind the body that the Tax Committee will be meeting tomorrow at 9:30. We will continue the budget, or we will complete the budget hearing on Department of Revenue and BOTA, and if their time permits, possible action on bills previously heard.
The chair recognizes the senator from Johnson, Senator Warren.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. To remind the body, Senate Judiciary Committee will be meeting tomorrow at 10:30, 346 South. Final action on bills previously heard. Thank you.
The chair recognizes the senator from Sherman, Senator Billinger.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. Senate Ways and Means will meet tomorrow at 10:30. We'll be having some budgets and possibly kick out a bill tomorrow. Thank you.
Are there other announcements? Seeing none, the chair recognizes the majority leader from Cali, Senator Alley.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. I move the Senate adjourn until 8 a.m. Friday, February 11th, 2022.
You have heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The motion carried. Senate is adjourned.